Peace.
Peace.
How you doing tonight?
Everything is good, man. How are you?
Blessed, man. I'm blessed. Plus, it's the 50th episode, and who better to celebrate it with than B-Luv from the JVC Force?
Thank you, man. Thank you, Sin, for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
No doubt. Thank you for joining us and telling us a little history lesson. I think that should be known. If those who don't know it, they sure will tonight. The whole true story behind the JVC Force and B-Luv. Before we get into anything, I just want to know how you're feeling, how you've been dealing with the COVID and the protest and the atmosphere where you're living at.
I'm out here in Atlanta, and about the COVID, you say,
Yes, sir.
so, no, actually, I want to give a shout out to my boy Heath at Slang Smith, my business partner, actually, for, presenting the artworks and the shirts. But no, we've been dealing with the COVID, man, and trying to make the best of it. And in light of everything negative going on and all the negative talk, just trying to, have something good come out of it and, still reach out to the people and push expression.
No doubt. We got a lot to jump into, and we only got a short, limited time to do it. For everybody who just logged on, I want to welcome you to History Lessons, formerly known as Quarantine Sessions, episode 50. Thank you for everybody who's been rocking with me up to this point. I am with B-Luv from the legendary JVC Force. I appreciate you joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you for having me. And to all out there
No doubt.
joining in, I want to say hello to everybody. I want to say 100 salutes to everybody, 3 daps. Thank you for your support through the years. 33 years is a lot to ask. I tell you guys, Strong Island is officially yours because you carried it for the 30 years. Plus, we're looking to go another 30. And all over the world, the Midwest, the East Coast, the West Coast, Long Island, um, just everybody, overseas. I want to just thank y'all. And again, most certainly sincere. I want to thank you for having me on and thinking enough of, the group to have us represent your 50th anniversary. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it. Let's jump right into it. Where was B-Luv born and raised at?
Brooklyn, New York. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. Grew up for about the first 5 years of my life in around the Canarsie, Brownsville area, near Linden Boulevard, Ditmas area in Brooklyn. Moved to Long Island when I was 5. Moved to a undeveloped place at the time called Central Islip. We came out to Central Islip and parents bought a house. At that time, was the I guess the way to show that you were moving up from like the city. Parents were bringing their kids out to the suburbs now to try to create a different life other than, what was seen in the urban America. And, it's a lot. We went to Long Island and, I made new friends in Long Island and stuff like that. And I must say, Long Island is my life. Long Island is the place where I have found the most finest times of my life and the most finest moments. I've met all of the best people of my life in Long Island, in Central Islip. I grew up with a great group of people. Our high school always turned around and, let our great progressive graduating classes. Central Islip was a hamlet of people. We were right next to Brentwood, Long Island. So the two were like one and the same. And we were, if you were from Central Islip, you were friends with the people from Brentwood, vice versa. So it was a big hamlet. And again, it was formed on a people that were like of different cultures, different colors. So, living and growing up in Long Island, it definitely gave me an opportunity to experience diversity and, like I said, meet some very, very fine people.
What was a day in the life of B-Luv growing up as a teenager?
Um, For me, it was all about music. Music was always something that possessed my life. You know, from the time I was probably about 3 or 4 years old, I started finding a liking the music. I was never a kid who played football on the block and stuff like that. You know, I was the kid that played the music out the window when 40, 50 kids was out there playing football, lamppost to lamppost on the block. Um, I was shut myself in. I was into music at that time. I was into DJing. Um, I had heard the Cold Crush Brothers when I was about 5 years old, and I fell in love with like rapping. And ever since I heard them at about 5 years old, they have been my favorite rap group all through my life. I modeled a lot of JVC stuff, right-wise, on the Cold Crush because to me, they harmonized the best. They had the best routines. They was the most cutting-edge crew that was out. And I myself, just listening to them, I found a certain sort of fury, you know. So growing up, more or less, even going through school and stuff, my notebooks were full of rhymes and different things like that. I sat around and I wrote about the things that I seen, and you know, so it came off in a more journalistic view than maybe other MCs at that time. But I know I wrote about a lot of current events. I read a lot, and it's like, you know, I sat back and it's like I wrote about the things that I seen on the news or things that were topics that was going on in the communities. I would make remarks in my rhymes about them and stuff, you know, and it taught me how to be sort of a rapper with a kind of a catchy kind of edge. And again, you know, as my teenage years went on, all I was about was you know, rapping and making music. You know, we were DJing in my mid-teen years. We were DJing as JVC. We were a crew before we were a rap group. You know, we did several house parties in Long Island. You know, Kurt came on with me later. But although he was the first person that I met when I first came to Long Island, because we went to a little school called Cordello, and I met him in the classroom at about 5 years old, first place that we were registered. And he had just come from Brooklyn too, and his mother was you know, the mothers at the time were nurses down in Brooklyn. So he had just came from Brooklyn too. So I met him in the classroom. But our relationship stopped in the classroom at that time. AJ, I had met because he lived directly around the corner from me. And I met him at about 5 years old also, but pretty much going on like closer to 6. So I knew these guys all my life. But when Kurt came along again and we began, you know, DJing as a crew and really getting out and, you know, doing stuff and really starting to form JVC, it was, I want to say, around Kurt's mid-teen years, you know. So he was probably in his mid-teens, well, not his mid-teens, maybe about 14, and I was about 15. But needless to say, you know, the years had went by, but I had known AJ all of those years in between, from being somebody that, you know, I met in the neighborhood and hanging out with. And with that being said, growing up, AJ was a rapper too, and AJ was a graffiti artist. AJ was a very, very good artist, and AJ used to tag. So some of the things that AJ was into, that AJ had the courage to do, like tag a whole side of a store a block away from where he lives, it fascinated me. And I was like, yo, this guy is like wild. And then, you know, when I started to realize that he rapped, naturally, we rapped together and kind of, not so much as a crew, but like he had his rhymes, I had my rhymes. And the noticeability that both of us was probably the most versed on the block, we started writing routines together. Well, we started doing routines together. And in those early days, you know, we wrote some stuff together and we had our routines, and we would go to the parties and we would do our thing and represent, you know, our set. And through doing a lot of those things through the years, it made me comfortable with him. Um, in the prior years before him, there were two female MCs that were in the group with me and Kurt when we started to form JVC. The original origins of JVC in Central Islip was myself, Kurt Cazal, and two lady MCs. You know, my homegirl Vanessa Dixon and my homegirl Zena Frazier. And they were the lady MCs. You know, they were very good, you know. The thing is that as the years went by and I seen hip hop from a city level, I realized how, you know, the crews were beginning to become structured. You either had a solo MC with maybe a DJ or two, or you had two MCs and a DJ. But, you know, the wave of 5 people was going away now because deals were starting to get more structured. So you couldn't have so many people in the group now trying to eat off of a contract. So, you know, you kind of sit back and, you know, you start to see from a business perspective how this thing works. Me and AJ, like I said, we had made so many, we had rhymed together for so long that we started to shop deals and stuff like that around the time when I was in 12th grade again. AJ was older than me and Kurt. So when we had JVC, we started to, well, not even, I shouldn't even say that. I should go back a little bit. With the structure of JVC, the way JVC started basically was the song The New School. And that was recorded at a trip. That was my senior class trip from the school I went to, my alma mater, Central Islip High School. It went ahead and we recorded it on that trip. That was the demo that we sent to BBoy Records. It was after the senior trip that all of my respective graduating class, everybody who was leaving the college, including myself, I left the school. And in the middle of the semester, I get a call from BBoy Records and they want to, you know, talk. So I head down to the Bronx from upstate New York and I meet Kurt and AJ, not Kurt and AJ, but I meet Kurt at the label. So we're talking to the label. AJ wasn't in the picture at this time. Because again, the song The New School was just a song that was recorded before doing damage. It was just a freestyle. If you listen to it, it was just a freestyle and it was recorded in one of those recording booths at the class trip at Great Adventure. It was Six Flags.
Okay.
So that was the demo, and we packed that up and we sent it to all of these people. We left the college and we didn't get no calls. And it wasn't until, like I said, the middle of the semester and BBoy Records called and they wanted to talk. When we went down to talk to them that night and they were liking The New School, me and Kurt had already had the idea and the beat for Strong Island. The words were written, but they were written in a singular form. I had wrote it as what was going to be another rhyme, representing Long Island, the place where I grew up and out below is, and again, still call home. Through conversations on the block, it was decided that the group would need another male MC and that I could deliver the song better and I could follow the Cold Crushers harmonization style, but I would need another person. So that's where AJ got introduced to Kurt. And Kurt listened to us freestyling and stuff, and, you know, he understood and agreed. We were polished from playing around on the block for so long. So when it came to Strong Island, it was broken down and it was structured. AJ was given, you know, his parts in the studio. I had my parts. We delivered the song. And from the time that we finished the song and we heard the song, for some reason, like the hip hop songs that was always out that we loved before, there was this feeling. And we had knew to some certain degree that based on what was on the radio and what was out at that time, we not only had something that sounded different, but if it took off, we knew that we had something to represent where we call home Strong Island. You know, living in CI, who the hell am I? It's a statement for the people. And the thing is that the people have carried Strong Island. And at 30 years, I gave the song to the people because you know what? They own the rights to the song. I've given everybody who wanted to use Strong Island the absolute rights to use the song because of the fact that you carried it. You know, there was a time that only Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, and Queens was recognized when it came to hip hop. Staten Island wasn't recognized and Long Island sure wasn't recognized. You know, it wasn't until Rakim, Public Enemy, Biz Markie, EPMD, you know, Long Island was starting to get recognized, but when the people decided that Strong Island was an anthem song that was just as hard as the South Bronx or the Bridge is Over, they carried it. You know, you never have to tell somebody, you know, who you are if the people talk for you.
Right.
You know, my people know I'm the Long Island representative. They know what I stand for. They know I have nothing but love in my heart for the place that I come from. And people worldwide, you know, big ups to like Europe and the Midwest. And see, people on the East Coast and stuff don't realize, like, you know, my presence is all right in the Midwest. It's good in Cali out there on the West. You know, it's just from humbly being a person who's into music. I never bragged and boast or anything like that, except for in my lyrics, maybe, because a braggadocious style is more of a fun style. But again, I never gone to nowhere and told nobody where I come from is the best. And I come from where I'm at, and I want you to know what Strong Island is and what Strong Island represents. And I want you to know I'm coming to your city because I'm coming on behalf of the love of music. And I want to go ahead and I want to represent and have fun, and I want to see how y'all get down. And, you know, it's a difference in being versed and a difference in, like, you know, sitting back and just, you know, trying to claim something, but you only turned around and really been in one situation, you know. So, I mean, I shout out all of the places, man, because you know what it is, the people, and I met great people all along the way, and I'll never stop communicating with them. You know, folks reach out to me all the time on Facebook and stuff. I talk to them because there's no way that people are going to buy my album still to this day or buy any of my albums still to this day, and I'm not going to give them the respect to talk to them. You know, I don't walk with body